Hey guys, welcome back here to Intuitive Angling, and appreciate you guys swinging by the channel today. And I want to talk about something today, guys, have a discussion. I really realized something for the first time this past week. I've been fishing a lot the last couple weeks about bass fishing. It's sort of hard to process. I'm trying to really figure out how to wrap my mind around this. I want to share it with you guys today. This is going to be a very interesting conversation. I'm looking forward to getting your guys' feedback on it here. Also, guys, before we get started, some of our daily housekeeping tips. Quick reminder that SolarBat has got a new frame on my RB2 and RB3 series glasses. They got the new matte black frame here. We've got three different options now. We got the matte black frame. We've got sort of like the tan, and then we've got the matte gray. So if you guys are interested in getting a pair of these, SolarBat has got their big spring fishing sale right now going on, 30% off on all the glasses there. I'll put my SolarBat link in the description of the video here, or you can also order a pair through my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of this video. And really appreciate everybody that's been buying their tackle through my Tackle Warehouse link. Much appreciated for me and my family there. Okay, one of the things about bass fishing, guys, is it's a constant learning process. And that's one of the things that's really fascinating about the sport, is that we're all students of it. Every single person out there is a student, and you're never going to learn it all. There's a tremendous amount of mystery and unknown to fishing. That's the way it should be. It needs to be like that. If we didn't have that mystery, it wouldn't be near as fun. But here is what I realized, and I've known this a little bit, but I really saw the full impact of it the past couple weeks fishing, that I'm trying to wrap my head around and trying to really process it. And that is, we have this conception, or this preconception of bass, what they do at different times of the year, like seasonal movements and patterns of the fish. I'm realizing more and more, and I've seen it this past week more than anything else, is bass do what they want to do, and not all bass do the same thing at any given lake. It's like there is so much going on in terms of like where you can find the bass at and the type of lures that they like, that it's very difficult to sit here and like do a YouTube video and say, okay, here it is, it's the second week of April, this is what the bass are doing. Because they're not all doing that. You may have a percentage of them doing that, but overall, there is, in any given lake, there's a population of bass out there that are literally doing 100 different things and will bite 100 different lures. Let me give you guys a prime example. I've been fishing a lot here back in Missouri the last month, here. Now, the last couple weeks, we're starting to get into the spawn. In fact, the fish are spawning here in Missouri right now. A lot of them are. But at the same time, I've got buddies that, that fish tons of different techniques. Right now, there are fish on the beds here in Missouri. There's actually fish that are bedding and building nests right now. There are bass in Missouri right now that are still suspended out in the middle of the lake. I know guys that are catching them live scoping in the middle of the lake right now. Wild bass are also spawning. I know guys right now that are catching them, 25 foot deep on the bottom. I know guys that are catching them in gin clear water right now, and I know guys that are catching them in muddy water right now, all at the same time. So here's the thing about it. It's like when you're trying to figure out how you want to fish for bass, it's like, this is what makes the bass fishing, the whole sport of fishing so difficult, is you've got so many dang options right now. I can literally take you like to any lake that I fish here a lot, like Lake of the Ozarks, Table Rock Lake, Grand Lake, all these lakes around my part of the country, and there would be 25 different ways we could catch them in 25 different type of locations. And this is what makes bass fishing a difficult sport at times. And it makes me, I sort of get beyond that. It's like I try to study. It's like, why did they do this? What is it that makes one bass, want to look for a bed right now and build a nest and, spawn? And there's another bass at the exact same time that's roaming out in 70 foot of water chasing shad at the same time. What is the deal with that? So these are the questions I ask myself a lot, and I theorize. It's like, I don't think anybody knows. Nobody can tell me. I don't care if you have a fisheries degree and you've been a biologist for 50 years, you cannot tell me what motivates one bass to swim out there in the middle of the lake chasing threadfin shad in April, and another bass is spawning in a clear water part of the lake, and then another bass is hanging on a lay down tree up in a muddy, river or creek arm of a lake at the same time. Nobody knows why they do that. This is my theory on it. I think bass are a lot like people in terms of they have a level of individuality to them that people do. It's the same thing. It's like for me, it would be a living hell for me to live in the middle of a busy city. I want to be outside. I don't want to be out in the absolute middle of nowhere. I want to be in a quiet area to live, but I also want to be able, if I want to drive 15 or 20 minutes into town, I want to be able to do that. And other people, that they would never do that. They couldn't stand to live outside of town. Everybody's just got a different preference in everything they do. And I think it's the same with bass. And when you're talking about that, when you're talking about terms of individuality in fish, that is why you have so many different type of behaviors out there about, what the fish like to do and the mood that they have on any given day. Let me give you another prime example. Tell me if you can figure this one out. Here in Table Rock Lake, or all the White River lakes where I fish, we have a lot of clear water. And once that water temperature starts to get in the mid 60s, and especially once it starts to get close to 70 degrees, you can go back into some of these clear water coves and you can see a lot of bass swimming around. You can see some bass that are bedding, some bass are just cruising down the bank. You see a lot of fish in the water because the water's clear. And especially if you go out there on a day where it's sunny and there's no wind, you can really see the bass good. I love to watch them. Now, one of my favorite ways to catch bass this time of year is on a wacky rig. And you can actually track these fish. It's like, I'll go into a cove sometimes and I'll see these bass swimming down the lake. They're not bedding, they're just swimming down the lake, swimming down the bank. And I'll go into one cove and I'll see a bass swimming, and I'll throw that wacky rig in front of them, and some bass will just charge over there 100 miles an hour and gobble that wacky worm like crazy. Then I may go down another 30 foot down the bank, and let's say I see another bass. I'll throw that wacky worm out to that bass, and that bass will casually swim over to it like that, and they'll look at it and they may pick it up like that once they casually swim over to it. And then I'll go down the bank another 20 or 30 foot, and I'll see another bass, and I'll cast over there in front of that bass with that wacky rig, and that wacky rig hits the water, and that bass darts away from it 100 miles an hour, like it's terrified of that wacky worm. So what is it that you can go into one cove and you can have 3 or 4 different type of bass, and every single bass reacts to that bait differently? It's the same with, where the bass like to live. It's like nobody really knows. And that's one of the things about bass fishing that is so fascinating. It's just like there's so much mystery to it that we just don't know. So there's a couple different takeaways with this. Number one, given this, it should be good to know that, you don't have to fish a certain way. As far as, if you like to fish shallow, you can catch shallow fish anytime. If you like to fish for suspended fish, you can catch suspended fish. If you like to fish for deeper fish, you can fish for deeper fish. There's always a lot of different options to that. So one of the things that will help you out is that try to fish like you like to fish. Try to look for that type of water. If you like to fish, for bass in clear water, go to that part of the lake because there's going to be fish to be caught. If you're like me and you like to fish shallow, dirty water, there's options in most lakes to do that. Go and concentrate on that because there's a population of fish that are to be caught during that time frame. The next thing with it, and this is one of the most important things I want to leave you with, is don't ever get to a point in your bass fishing where you have this desire to figure everything out and know everything. You don't want to do that, guys. You do not want to know everything about bass fishing, because once you do that, it takes away everything that's great about fishing. So much about bass fishing is about the unknown, and that's what I talk about a lot when I rail against technology, is about this mystery and the magic of the unknown. This is the PowerPoint of fishing that makes it fun all the time, on a long-term level. Let's say, for example, you're fishing boat docks, you're casting a jig around boat docks. And how much fun would it be? It's like if every boat dock that you saw, you go up to that boat dock and you pitch that jig, next to a slip in a boat dock, and you catch a fish. How fun would that be versus the fact that you see a boat dock over there and you go over there and pitch that jig up to it and you have no clue if there's a fish there, and maybe one time out of 20 boat docks you catch a fish, but you don't know which dock that's going to be. It could be any dock that you go to. This is what makes it powerful. Don't ever think that it would be fun to go to every single dock and catch a fish on it, because yeah, it might be fun at first, but eventually it's not going to be fun at all, because it'd be the same way with, say for example, you like to play poker or something. You're a gambler. How fun would it be if you won every single hand? You knew that you were going to get the cards dealt to you to win every single hand. Yeah, it might be fun for a little bit. You're going to win a lot of money, but eventually it's like you're going to lose the passion for the game, because if that potential for failure is not there and present all the time, it takes away from everything that you have. And I always use one television show as a good analogy. You may or may not have heard me talking about this. There used to be a show called The Twilight Zone, back in the 50s, sort of like a science fiction type thing. And one of the episodes in The Twilight Zone is there was this guy there that he loved to gamble, and he just couldn't win anything. It's like, he was down on his luck, and he'd gone forever without winning anything. So eventually there was, he was playing poker one time, and this one guy showed up next to him, and little did you know, it was the devil in disguise. And he starts talking to this guy, and this dude's down on his luck, and he goes, I tell you what, he goes, do you want to start winning? He goes, I can help you win every single hand. And he goes, yeah, I want to win. He goes, well, are you willing to give up everything to win all the time? He goes, I'll do anything to win. So anyway, they made a deal. This guy didn't know this other guy was the devil talking to him. It's just it's a story here. So eventually this guy, they made a deal. He didn't know that he was making a deal with the devil, but nevertheless he did. And he started winning. And it's right off the bat, he's all excited. It's like, oh, this is great, man. I can finally win at poker. And he started winning and winning and winning. And he started winning every hand. And it's like literally every hand. And after he started winning, like constantly, he started saying, this isn't fun anymore. He goes, it's like, I don't want to win every single time. It's no fun. And this dude, the guy was the devil, said, he goes, well, that's what you agreed to. You're going to win every time. So now he spent eternity playing poker or whatever, winning every hand, and it turned into a living hell for him. It's like what he thought he wanted, which was to win all the time, actually turned into be hell for him, because the failure part of it was the thing that made it special. And it's the same with bass fishing, guys. It would be a living hell if you knew everything about fishing. And that's why I rail against live scope and forward-facing sonar, because the more that technology advances, the more that you're going to know everything. And there's not going to be that level of the unknown. And therefore, fishing turns into a living hell eventually. Mark my words, guys, technology is going to get so advanced at some point where there's going to be no mystery to it. And yeah, there may be bass that have different moods and personalities, but nevertheless, there's not going to be any unknown. You're going to know where every bass is in the lake. Not only you're going to know where every bass is, you're going to know the size of them, you're going to know the mood and the personality of those fish. There's not going to be anything left. There's going to be nothing left for the unknown and the magical and the mystery of fishing. So therefore, guys, electronic companies are in the process of creating a living hell for bass fishermen. Bass fishermen just don't know it yet. So anyway, take note of that, guys, and just check back with me in about 5 years and see if I'm not right on that. So anyway, I hope you guys are well. We'll talk later.